Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw Tips and Tricks, and today's video is going to be about, I'm using Corel 2017, but it'll work on X8 too. It's about the enhanced knife tool and the overlap. I could not figure out how a laser engraver, which I am, would ever use the overlap, but it just, the next day after I made the first video and thinking about it, somebody called me and wanted a state of Texas cutout that's 36 by 36 that will not fit in my laser bed that's 28 by 40. And there's another way to look at that. It actually would, almost barely. So I'm going to either try to talk him into just a hair smaller. I mean, it just almost fits. But what he wants it for, he wants to cover it in a cowhide. So one, I'm not going to use one with probably this much detail, probably going to be more sloping for him. But I thought I'd try to figure out how to do the video and incorporate the new knife tool. And so the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to cut it out of two different sheets and then glue them together to make my thickness. He wants it about 1/2 inch thick. Well, if you use a laser enough, you know that MDF bigger and thicker than 1/4 is really going to burn it too bad, even with multiple passes. And to get something 1/2 inch thick in plywood, maybe you could cut through a 1/4 inch plywood, but it's still going to burn a little bit. If you used 1/8 inch plywood, it would take 4 layers and a lot of sheets and be costly. So I'm in the video today. I'm going to show you how to use the new knife tool and indexing dowels to make 2 layers of wood that you could glue on top of each other. And I realize most of you that are watching this, you could probably stop watching now because it's probably never going to help you. But I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. So I got the knife tool. I'm using the straight line pointer, and I'm using an overlap of 1 inch. And I'm just going to cut it right through the middle. Okay, and there you see my overlap. If you look, and we're going to set the nudge factor on just 2 inches, if we move one of these sections over 2 inches, you can see it's overlapped. This could be a really useful tool. I think it's really made for people that do car wraps and stuff, so they can overlap, around doors and, around the edge of the car. But for a laser engraver, we could do this. If you're going to cover this up anyway, and because you're going to have a crack, and this wouldn't really work for anything that wasn't going to be covered. But anyway, I've got my nudge factor, or my nudge distance, set on 40 inches. I'm going to make a duplicate of this state, Control D, and I'm going to move it over 40 inches. I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool, and I'm going to fill in our overlap. Whoop. I must be leaking right there. Somewhere. Well, just for the video, I'm going to do this. Delete that one, and I'm just going to make a copy of that, Control D, and move it over. So now I'm going to take my Smart Fill part, and I'm going to move it down 40 inches. I'm going to take that Smart Fill part, I'm going to move it down 40 inches. Now I'm going to take my virtual, no I'm not, I'm going to get rid of these lines with my knife tool. Well, no, I'm going to do it with the virtual segment delete key. I'm going to delete these overlapped lines. Okay, now to get, there's a double line right there. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's the overlap line. You could probably weld this together, but it's not going to get rid of that double line. So it might cut it twice, and it might not, but I can still see a double line, so I'm not going to use the weld tool. I'm going to use the Smart Fill tool again. That's going to fill in my outline. I'm going to move it over 40 inches. Move that one over 40 inches. Excuse me. I'm going to take my pick tool. I'm going to select both these states, and I'm going to delete them. I'm going to move this one back over 40 inches. This one back over 40 inches. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to put no fill. Then I can grab these two, I'm going to move them up 40 inches. Or you could have done them individually. Now here's the key part. Take your virtual segment delete key. I keep calling it a key, but it's the delete tool. And delete the top line on this one and the bottom line on this one. Okay, so now your lines are different sections. Take your Smart Fill tool and fill that in and move it to the left. Smart Fill tool and move it into the left. Smart Fill, move it to the right. And I'm just using the arrow keys. Now we can delete these two. We don't need them anymore. Delete. Now I'm going to move this over 40 inches. Move this over 40 inches. I'm going to take away our fill with my left mouse button. Now, so we got two states. Let's do this. Let's Control G to group them. Control G to group them. And let's move it over 40 inches. So we've got our same thing, but the lines are overlapped. So let's move back to 40 inches. Now, to glue two pieces together that are this, well, any size, you need to use especially if it's going to be covered, because it's going to be hidden. I'm going to do something called an indexing dowel. And normally what you would do is on this part of the sheet of goods, you would do some tests with like a 1/4 inch hole in 0.25 and then test that with your dowel and make sure it's really tight. I want it tight where when I put glue on it, I actually have to tap it in with a hammer. For the video, I'm going to use a 1-inch dowel just so you can see it. Now we're going to place a 1-inch dowel about right there, and it doesn't matter where you put it. I'm going to Control D, I'm going to make a duplicate. I'm going to put another one right there. Now if I Control D again, that dot's going to go way down there. So as long as it's in the picture, it doesn't matter. You could always go back up to the first one and Control D it. And it won't move. And I would probably do one more just for grins. You know, they're only going to be a 1/2 inch long dowels. They're not going to cost you anything. Now here's the trick. Control G to group it. Control D to make a duplicate and move it over. Ungroup it, which is Control U. Ungroup it, and let's get rid of the state of Texas. But my dowels are still there. My dowel holds. Move this one over 40 inches, and I'm done. So let's group this together. Control G. This one's already grouped. Let's move it over 40 inches. And what has happened, we've got 4 pieces of board that are, a woodworker like myself calls it a butt joint, which isn't going to hold. But you've got a 1-inch overlap in each layer, and these dowels are going to give a little bit of strength, but the dowels are really there for placement. You try to glue 2 things together this big, or even little, with clamps or weights, the glue is going to shift a little bit before it dries. If you put the dowels in, it can't shift, and you're going to be dead on. Anyway, I realize that's more than most people would ever want to do or try to do, but I had to kind of throw it out there, and it might give you some ideas on some other things to use some indexing dowels. Hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.